Hi guys, I recently did a yarn haul or yarn unboxing where I talked about the new cinnamon swirl cakes and blossom cakes. So I will link that video down below if you'd like to check it out. It's just my initial thoughts and I show you all the different colors and that kind of thing. So if you want to go watch that one and then come back to this video, again, it will be linked in the description box below. But I've actually worked with both of the yarns at this point. I've built up some projects with them, so I wanted to do another video and give my thoughts on the yarn after actually working with it. So the first one that I'm going to get into is the Blossom Cakes, and the color that I've actually used, I did not use this other color that I have yet, but is the Passion Fruit. And again, if you want to see all of the colors and all of the information and yardage and all that kind of thing, please do check out the first video and then come back to this one. But this is the color here that I used. It's in the color Passion Fruit, and I'll put a picture on screen of what I made. It's a heart triangle scarf or shawl. You can make it as big or as small as you would like. And again, the tutorial for that will be linked down below if you do want to make it. I have the little piece here that I made up in the tutorial. So you can see all of the colors. It's got the oranges and the pinks and the yellows. I love the way that the color builds up. I love the stitch definition. You can see the puff stitches here look really nice. It's very soft. I really love this yarn. Honestly, it's probably one of my favorite yarns that I've used in quite a while. It crocheted great. It glided over the hook really nice. When I made a mistake and had to pull some out, it pulled out really easily. So overall, I highly recommend this yarn. I think it's very nice yarn, and because I like making tops, I'm excited to use it again over the spring and summer. I'll definitely be using this one again. And I do want to put this through the wash. So I'm going to wash just this little piece because I don't want to put my big shawl that I made up right into the washing machine. In case it shrinks a bunch and ends up ruined, I'll want to hand wash that one. But I will put this little piece that I used in the tutorial through the wash. So I will measure this at this point. So from the top corner to the opposite corner is about 20 inches, and from the top to the bottom point is about 10 inches, and from one side at the top to the bottom point it's about 14 inches. So I'm going to throw this into the wash at this point, and when I come back, we'll have a look at it and see if the sizing has changed, see how it's feeling, and all of that kind of thing. So I'll be back in just a moment. All right, I just pulled this piece out of the dryer. So I washed it on the gentlest cycle on my machine. I did it on cold water and the delicate cycle. And then on the dryer, I just did the tumble dry and I set it to cold. So it was the gentlest options I could possibly get. And you can see it still looks okay, but it's gotten a little bit lumpy. I don't know if you can see that good in the camera, but it's just a little bit, probably if I lay it out for a bit, that will get better. But it did come out a little bit lumpier than when it started. Otherwise, the yarn looks nice. The stitches themselves, these still look good. It feels nice and soft, similar to how it did prior. I wouldn't say that it feels much softer or anything like that, but we'll give it a measure to see if it shrunk at all. So you remember the top corner here to the corner over here, prior to washing, it measured 20 inches. And at this point, it's measuring about 19 inches. So it lost an inch in width. And then from the top center down to the bottom point here, it was measuring 10 inches. And at this point, it's measuring right around 9, maybe a little bit more. So another inch loss there. And from the top corner here to the bottom point, it was measuring 14 inches prior to washing. And at this point, it's measuring 13 inches. So it lost an inch in all of the 3 measurements. So with this yarn, I would definitely recommend hand washing and laying flat to dry. I know the label says that it's machine washable and dryable, but even on all of the gentlest options on my washing machine and dryer, it still lost some size. So definitely recommend hand washing and laying flat to dry for this yarn. I still love it. I'm still very happy with it. And I'm happy that now I know not to use a washing machine and dryer. And the next one that I want to talk about, which is my least favorite of the 2, is the cinnamon swirl cakes. So I haven't used the other colors that I got, and again, if you want to see what colors I got, that will all be in that first video. I've only used this one here, and I made these fingerless gloves or wristers or wrist warmers, whatever you'd like to call them, but that's what I made here. I'll put them on quickly just so you can see them. Again, the tutorial for this will be linked down below if you'd like to make it. I thought that the color combos that they come up with is really nice. I think that they look well together. I also like the color combo in this one. So I thought they came up with some pretty good colors. But that's basically where my likes of this yarn stops. So I will say that it could be that I just ended up with a crappy ball of yarn and that all of the other ones are completely fine. But I'll tell you the problems that I had with this one. So when I first started my project and I was looking for the center pole and I pulled out the yarn that was in the center, it came out in not only just a big clump of yarn, which can happen when you're looking for the center pole, but it wasn't attached to anything. So it was a big ball of yarn that I pulled out and it was just separate from the rest of the yarn. So when I found the end of that, and it was quite a bit of yarn, I don't have it anymore, I actually ended up just throwing it out, but it was quite a bit of yarn. And I think what happened is the end of that yarn was tied in a knot to the next color, and at some point prior to me buying it, that came undone, and it was just all smooshed in there, came out not attached at all. And when I started working with the yarn, I saw that there was tons of knots. So even in these wristers, I think I had to deal with maybe 2 or 3 knots just in this tiny project. So it's not great when you're trying to build up your project and you keep coming across the knots. I think it's fairly common for there to be maybe 1 throughout a ball of yarn. In fact, in the blossom cakes, I didn't mention it, but in my big scarf, I came across, actually no, it was just in the tutorial, there was 1 knot, but in the big one that I made, the big shawl, I didn't come across any knots. So it was just 1 in the little piece that I built up for the tutorial. So in this tiny project to come across 2 or 3 already, it's not great. In terms of softness, it's fine. It's just an average acrylic. Like I said in the first video, it's not the softest yarn that I've ever used, but it's definitely safe to make wearables. It feels fine, and I'm guessing that it's actually going to soften up in the wash, but we will find out in just a moment. And my next problem with this yarn is in this color specifically, and I'm not sure why it's just this color, but I came across, I saved some of the pieces here. I came across a bunch of pieces of yarn. Let me find one here. Here's one. I'll get these out of the way. That had this black in it, and it's not yarn. It's not black yarn that's in that. It's actually like a paint or something. Something like that. Your guess is as good as mine. But there was a bunch of pieces that had this in it. So I had to keep, well, some of them I just worked in if it wasn't too bad. But some, like you can see, I had to put a knot in the yarn there just because I had to cut out a piece that had too much of this. And this one isn't on its own. Like I have a bunch here, and it was that color specifically. I have just a whole bunch here, but you get the idea. It just had a bunch of this black running through it. So again, not fun when you're trying to build up your project and you keep coming across that, because that would be very noticeable if I just worked it in. So I ended up just cutting off a bunch of these pieces and then reattaching the yarn and continuing with my project. And I think just in these two pieces alone, there was probably, well, I have 3 pieces here next to me. Here's another one. This one's longer. I haven't cut it short, but it was just kind of throughout that. And again, I actually worked, when it wasn't too bad, I just went ahead and used it. But because I'm probably not going to wear these very often, so it was just meant for a tutorial, so I ended up using it. But it's not great to have that black paint, or I don't even want to know what that is in there. So that was my other problem with it. Again, just because it's like a basic acrylic yarn, other than the color combos, I think the colors look decent. It's not worth it for me to buy again. The price, which I believe is on here. No, it's not. I believe it was $14.99 Canadian, which is $11.99 in US dollars. If that's not correct, I'll write it on screen now, but I believe that was the case. And for me, it's not worth it to buy these again. So I will not be doing that. But again, I will get this in the wash now, and we'll see how it looks and feels after. And with the wristers here, I also just got these out of the dryer. I washed them on the same cycle as the other project, and same with drying them. So I washed them on a delicate cycle on cold, and the dryer, I put it to a tumble dry cycle, and I also put that on cold. So it was just all the most gentle settings that I could put it on. And the yarn is definitely feeling softer. It's very squishy and gushy now. So I guess that's one positive of this yarn. After you wash it, it will get softer. It actually feels very nice. So, and the stitches themselves are still looking really nice. There's not any pilling or anything like that. It's honestly looking the exact same as when I put it in. So for this kind of yarn, if you do get it, I think that their label of machine washable and dryable is accurate. I would feel comfortable putting these projects into the washing machine again. If you're worried, you could always hand wash and lay flat to dry. Honestly, if you build up a big project, I would always recommend that, just in case you don't want to spend all that time working on it and then it ends up getting ruined in whichever way by washing and drying it. So I would recommend that regardless. But for me, I would, if I use this yarn again, I would definitely feel safe putting it in the washing machine and dryer. So my final thoughts on these yarns are the cinnamon swirl cakes. I will not be purchasing it again. And the blossom cakes, I definitely will. I love it. And I just saw they're both on sale at my Michael's right now. So I might actually pick up some more of the blossom cakes. Otherwise, if you would take a moment and subscribe to my channel, that would be greatly appreciated. I have a bunch of tutorials on there, and I plan to do a bunch more yarn unboxings and maybe some reviews and all of that kind of thing, so you won't want to miss any of those videos. But I appreciate you watching this one, and you can let me know in the comments below if you use this yarn and if you feel the same way about it. I will say everybody's different. This is just my opinion on this yarn, but it could be that you love it, and maybe I just got a not so great ball of the cinnamon swirl cakes. But definitely give them both a try and see how you feel about it. And if you did build up something with this yarn, let me know your thoughts on it below. And again, all of the videos that I discussed in this video will be linked in the description box below. I'll otherwise see you in my next video. Bye!